What if the most gruesome voice in your life isn't someone else's, but your own? The voice that whispers lies that sound like truth, convincing you are not enough, not worthy. The voice that makes you believe that only if you stay small, you'll be loved. Only if you stay silent, you'll be safe. And this voice is shame. And shame is more than just guilt over what we've done. Shame is the lie that tells us that we are wrong. And when that lie takes root early, in childhood, in trauma, in systems built to keep us small, it doesn't just feel like a belief, it feels like it is who we are. It becomes the air we breathe, trickling in every aspect of our lives. The way we behave in relationships, the way we silence our voice, and the way we view ourselves.
You know, internalized shame is not natural. It is something that we have learned. Something that we have learned when we were little girls, and in all those little moments when our parents didn't meet our needs, when we were punished for something that we did, we internalized not that we did something wrong, but that we are wrong. Because children cannot distinguish between what I did was wrong and I am wrong. So every time that they heard, you did this, you did that, and bad girl, or all these kind of things, we couldn't distinguish. And so we internalized the shame and we made ourselves bad and wrong. And anytime we were ignored or dismissed, our nervous system learned that love is conditional, that safety needs to be earned, that love needs to be earned, and that nothing is freely given. So we carry the shame all our lives, and then we carry it on into adulthood, and it runs the show.
We were raised in cultures that praise silence over truth, that reward overgiving and high performance, that frame caretaking as womanhood and self-abandonment as virtue. And so in order to survive, our nervous systems, so literally our biology, adapted to those rules. The shame in our bodies shut our emotions down. It taught us to be scared of what we feel, that certain emotions are wrong, too much, and not safe to express. Anger in women is labeled as difficult to deal with. Sadness is labeled as too sensitive. So we disconnect, we numb, we push through, we stop listening to our inner voice because shame whispers that our truth might make us unlovable. It's a survival strategy, one that once kept us safe. But over time, it pulls us further and further away from who we actually are.
So shame doesn't just live in our minds, it lives in our bodies. It is the way we tighten our shoulders or we try to protect our heart by hunching our shoulders forwards. It is in the way that we feel tightness in our neck from carrying all this load. It's the knot that we feel in our stomach. It is our heart racing when we try to set a boundary. And it's this urge to need to apologize even though you did nothing wrong. But this isn't your body betraying you, it is your body protecting you, because it learned that's what I need to do in order to protect myself and keep myself safe.
Shame is a form of chronic stress. So humans are biologically designed to go into short periods of stress, like fight or flight when we are in danger. So stress hormones spike and then they fade. But shame is stored in the body for long periods of time. Some people go through their whole lives and have never released the shame from their bodies. And when we don't actively release it, then our nervous system stays locked in survival mode. And that is not only exhausting, but it is also extremely destructive to our bodies and our psyche.
So we actually have something in our body that is called the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is responsible for our rest and digest state in the body. So if we are living in a place of survival, if we're constantly in freeze or flight or fight or fawn, then our vagus nerve will get thrown off balance. And when that happens for a long period of time, our body can actually get really sick. So, for example, it can cause autoimmune diseases where the body attacks itself. Because shame is basically us attacking ourselves. It is we making ourselves wrong, so we are attacking ourselves. So, this is what manifests in the physical body. Then, chronic pain in the shoulders, in the jaw, in the neck, in the pelvis. So, all places where we hold unspoken words and unexpressed anger and rage. Also, digestive issues, so issues with our gut health, issues with nausea, IBS, because our gut is deeply wired to our brain. And so, shame often shuts down our capacity to digest food, but also to digest experiences. So, again, these are diseases that are mirroring the shame that is living in our bodies, because shame makes it hard for us to digest experiences, because it shuts us off from our emotions. So we have trouble digesting food because we have trouble digesting experiences. Also, hormonal imbalance, because shame produces so many stress hormones in our bodies, it throws other hormones off balance. And this then also shows in our menstrual cycle. So maybe our cycle is irregular, or we have a very long cycle or a very short cycle. Like, it can cause so many issues with our cycle. And of course, chronic fatigue, because our body has been in survival for so long, it takes up so much energy that it's no wonder that we feel drained and tired all the time.
So now, how do we heal shame? Healing shame is not something we can think our way out of. Healing shame has to happen in the body. And it is about rehearsing in your body over and over and over that you are safe. So this can look like, for example, nervous system work. So breath work, grounding practices, and somatic practices. So going to the forest with your bare feet on the ground and taking deep breaths and grounding yourself into the earth to relax your nervous system. Also breath work to relax your nervous system, taking really deep breaths, or doing something like box breathing, where you inhale for a certain amount of time, you hold, then you exhale, then you hold, and you inhale again, and repeat that for about 4 to 5 times. Then also slowing down in your general life. No matter what you're doing, if you're making yourself a coffee or food, trying to remember to take it slow. And connecting to your body, like hugging yourself, gently caressing yourself, just being present with your body. If you're curious about practices, you can visit my membership. There are a bunch of practices in there for regulating your nervous system, also healing shame in connection to the mother wound. So there are guided shadow work practices in there. There's a whole course on the father wound in there. So it's like a whole A to Z super roadmap on healing trauma and regulating yourself and coming back to yourself. So love, remember, you were never too much. You were never not good enough. You were simply surviving in a world that taught you shame as a language. And now it is time that you get to speak something new. Wholeness, power, and your birthright of being deeply and unapologetically you.